so much radio gear behind me.
Welcome to the Ham Radio Crash Course. Welcome to Saturday. Today we are going to be talking about AI and what's with all those apps that are coming out developed in AI for amateur radio. We're going to get started real soon, so enjoy the memes. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Ham Radio Crash Course. We are going to be talking about AI-developed applications and its use, its effective use, and then maybe some of the things to keep an eye on. Because this is a tool, the generation of AI code is an interesting thing that is very effective for prototyping applications, and it's lowered the bar, certainly, to get folks interested in software development. But that also comes at a cost that we're going to be talking about a little bit today. Wanted to give a bit of a note here as we dive into this. We'll be using the term vibe coding and a number of other things, and so I just want to make sure that we're level setting what that means. So we're probably going to take a little bit in the beginning to talk a little bit about that and get a better understanding of kind of what goes into it. This was a Patron Picks voted episode, so if you want to continue to support us here on the Ham Radio Crash Course, take a link in the video description, consider joining us on Patreon, and then you can vote for shows like this. Maybe you would have wanted one of the other 10s or something, other topics that was voted on today instead of this AI stuff. So I want to go ahead and pull in real fast. So this is from r/ham-devs, and topic of this was vibe coding anyone, and then they spent a little bit of time talking about how kind of a bad reputation in terms of vibe coding, what that means, not just in ham radio, but kind of industry level. And the first comment, I think, really did a good job of expressing kind of what the concerns are with vibe coding. And again, vibe coding is where you take someone that doesn't have a lot of software development skills or capabilities. Again, we all start somewhere, so if you use AI as a tool to generate code, that totally makes sense. It speeds up a lot of the process. Professionals use it, right? So I'm not bad-mouthing AI in that sense. But what can happen with vibe-coded things is that there will be no debug instrumentation. And so what that generally means, or very rare debug instrumentation, a lot of the AI code that gets generated is like the code base. It's not the unit tests or other things that you might generate along with it that would test your inputs and outputs of a given function or whatever. And sure, there's variations of that, but often it doesn't really have that capability. Error handling is almost non-existent in a lot of cases, which means that when you get to some kind of a problem with the way a variable is handled, it might just exit. It might just crash to desktop, or the website might go non-functional. No defense coding, so that's a particular paradigm of software development. And just you can read the list. In fact, I'm gonna bring this topic up right up at the top as we talk to our panel, our expert panel. So I've got Heath from the Ham Radio Crash Course Discord. We will just mention him. Do you want to go by your call sign, or what do you?
Oh, yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm NQ7T.
Okay, I didn't know if you wanted to do that. Oh, I got Echo. Okay, hold on. Echo is hopefully gone. N17. What was your call sign again? Sorry.
November Quebec 7 Tango.
Got it. Okay, thank you for joining us. And we have N1CCK, right? Nick, we got that? I get that right.
I think they're the same. You never know.
Yeah, so maybe starting with Heath, you can mention your background if you want to, go into a little bit of detail, and then tell us what you think kind of vibe coding is to kind of set the ground level, the baseline, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, yeah, no, it's great to be on tonight, talk about this. It's been an interesting topic, professionally for me. My background is I've probably just over 25 years now of professional Linux experience. Most of my experience has been on the system administration side, helping customers implement solutions and basically, pulling open source software together to make it do very useful things for customers and making it so that it's production ready and stable there. So working with that, and also a lot of debugging, bug fixes, and security updates as well to work there with Linux. So working a lot with open source software, read a lot of software. AI is still new to me. It's still something I'm learning. I'm trying not to be a software Luddite, but old habits are hard to break.
Yeah, I have a follow-on for you, but I want to say a big thanks to TC Fitz for the super chat. Appreciate you. Yeah, and I didn't mention this is 4th of July. So again, I appreciate Heath and Nick hanging out with me here, and all of you hanging out as well, because yeah, we're obviously we'll have some fun later tonight. But yeah, just wanted to make sure we got that out there. Happy 4th of July to everybody. So follow-on question is, you've experienced what I would call traditional software engineering in the sense that you go through some kind of a design level, and then there's maybe a skeleton that gets coded out, and then you go into deeper development with going down to design pattern, implementation if you're really old school, and then you build some kind of unit test to wrapper that. I don't know what your coding background is, but what's your kind of take on the rapidity of this AI development cycle that we're seeing versus the traditional way we've been doing things?
So the most effective way that I've seen AI used in projects is when you apply that kind of traditional software development ideas, and then you break those up, and then when you break those down, you can ask AI to complete the various tasks. One aspect that we do is I do a lot of functional testings rather than unit testing. My background isn't writing as much software, but writing the glue software together. So writing tests that set up systems, because now systems are very much software defined. you write a system, so set it up, run your tests, write shell scripts. AI has been very good about writing shell scripts, and then coming back with the test and doing that. So that has sped that development process up, because there's a lot of repetitive tasks in writing software, and AI has been great for that. So that's kind of where I've seen a big impact, and where it can be the most effective right now.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I mainly do. No, I take that back. I've worked on satellite software, and that's usually heavy unit test, but then functional is usually what we end up getting to anyway with integration testing for final fielded systems. And certainly for the type of stuff I've done for, government, or at least was doing government contracts, AI wasn't so much of a thing we were allowed to use for helping design or develop any kind of code. But Nick, what say you? What's your kind of background, and what's been your involvement with AI generated software?
Oh, well, like Heath, I've been doing this for about 30 years now, 25, 30 years, somewhere in there. My initial schooling was for business process and how computers and systems layer in on top of that. Mm-hmm. Right? So it's a very like why-driven development concept. Right? What's the problem? What tools do we implement in order to solve that and bring that to a solution? So
well, hold on one second, Nick. Somebody's saying we got an echo again, and I don't know why. Do you hear it on me, but you don't hear it on Nick? That's weird. Can you hear me chat and tell me if there's an echo still? We'll just do it this way. Go ahead. Repeat what you just said, Nick. You should be good.
Okay. I'm just going to pretend I'm good. That's half of life anyway, right? No, so a lot of process engineering, and then a lot of coding in order to support that, right? So very much the problem statement and the design solution comes first, and then, okay, what tools do we need? And if I need to make them, I make them. So I've been doing that for a long time. Again, just to echo Heath, the software development lifecycle is very well fleshed out in the year up until the year 2026, right? Mm-hmm. So you have a lot of testing, you have a lot of very guardrail-ish type things, and there's always been until recently, a very kind of delineated growth pattern, right, for how you can kind of come up in the industry. Writing the code's the easy part. Understanding the why is often the hard part, or trying to remember what you did 6 months ago and why you made a decision. So
do you both come from a background where you would actually like pencil out some kind of a design, whether it was like a use case, a block diagram, even if it was just pseudo code that was high level, do this, then this, then this, and then you'd have class structures. So you'd break it into functional class groups.
Yep.
So it sounds like for both of you, and correct me if I'm wrong, that AI has been useful in the sense that like you can give it like a bit of a class structure or a particular feature set or functionality and kind of like, here, go off and work on that. But it wouldn't necessarily drive from beginning to end the entire functionality of your application. Is that kind of true?
It depends.
Good ham radio answer.
Yeah, no, so I still very much draw things out on paper, right? When I need to. I think I'm that end of Gen X, that beginning of millennial, right? So that hybrid kind of, I exist in both worlds. So sometimes pen and paper is just easier. AI, if you spend the time to have good design ahead of time, you will get good results, better results at the end. And that is true no matter who's writing the code, right? So if you can spend 3, 4, 5 hours writing a really solid design document, you can then throw it at the AI and have it do all the copy pasta.
Oh, interesting. I haven't really thought about that. Is there a certain type of file format that it accepts if you were to give it a design, or is it just text, English text?
I work in Markdown, but you can draw any kind of diagram, and generally it'll pick it out.
Markdown is what most people use there.
Markdown.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. I didn't really think about that, but I'm curious how many of the ham radio software developers that use AI tools are using like a Markdown design, or are they kind of just pointing at the fences and swinging for a massive home run? Do you have any experience in that?
I do. We have a I've been part of a big project, and we weren't actually using Markdown. It was using a big JSON file, which was fun to parse ourselves. One of the important things here, I wanted to back up a little bit on the design. Yeah. One of the cool things with AI, because it's an large language model, is it does speak natural language. So you can use AI, like a lot of it, Claude calls it like plan mode and these other ones. And you can ask the AI, say, I want to develop an application to do XYZ. Ask me some questions about it to help me clarify. So it can start to, you can start to bounce ideas back and forth between the AI and yourself to help you drive down your requirements, come up with a plan to implement some things. Like if you weren't sure, like these are things that I'm still very much learning. And this especially happens a lot with Python, is that AI, like if you just give AI instructions, it'll go write like this 1,000-line a Python thing. You spend some time going back and forth, you can discover, there's a library. AI can use a library, and you can spend a lot of time. So you can do a lot of discovery there. Yeah. And then AI can help you write out that Markdown file. Claude has a Claude MD to say, to save some of the things you've talked about. Okay. And so, like on Linux, like if I wanted to write just application to interact with something over serial, then I'm going to use serial library instead of implementing by hand, like doing the bits like sometimes I've had it do. They'll use the serial library in Python to say, okay, the library here, and that makes it easier to make it cross, OS compatible, more cross OS compatible. But that was talking with the AI there and saying like, hey, I want to do this, I want to accomplish this, maybe suggest some libraries, maybe suggest a flow. What are things you need to ask, and what telling the AI, like, tell me what design elements you want me to tell you. Answer these questions. So that's one of the cool things it can do there.
Yeah, one of the curiosities I had as well is I work in a startup now, and then they do have AI development of code. But we had the company had reviewed some other code and, a number of other code bases. And I guess there's a thing, and maybe it's not, that's why I'm asking the question, is how much of the code is like human readable after you output it? Like, I guess you could probably say make it human readable, but is it something that you actually do in a lot of cases?
Uh, Go ahead first.
I was gonna say, working with open source software, I have to review a lot of different code bases, and it is very common for me to use AI to help me explain what's happening in a particular function. Like if I need to add a security feature and I'm not sure if it's quite right. So, and also the code that it does generate, as long as you keep it simple, it is pretty readable. Nice thing is you can also ask AI to tell you what it's doing.
Yeah, Nick, go ahead, add your thoughts, and then
I was gonna say I'm gonna push a little bit there.
Okay.
Coming from a more programming background as opposed to a systems background, there are design principles, SOAP, dry, etc., right, that are principles of good software design, and you can absolutely teach them to the LLM. It does not do them well by default necessarily, right? And that's where a lot of vibe coding gets into trouble, right? So directly to your question, can you read it afterwards? Just by default? No, probably not. It's probably not human readable. And that's one of the large problems, because then you lose that oversight and responsibility capability, right? But if you can, I have loads and loads of skills and add-ons to my AI agents that can then go back and say, okay, what are these pieces that we should be breaking down into smaller bits, right? So there's one open source project that's big in the ham world right now where the primary file is like 12,000 lines long. And there's no human that's going to read that.
What is it? Which is the project?
I don't really necessarily want to go dragging projects.
Okay. All right. I'm going to pull it up right now.
You can. It's fine. I dropped you the link earlier today. But
okay. I think you mentioned it. I did pull up a thing that I want to touch upon. And this isn't to drag people, because again, we all got to start somewhere, right? And if you make a GitHub and it's your sandbox and you play in it and it's popular, that doesn't mean that you are a professional level software developer. It just means you made a thing that people like. But there are downsides that can come from that. But yeah, continue. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, but then you come into the responsibility question, right? So like, who is responsible for this thing after it's out in the world and has users? And if you can't understand the code and a human can't look at it and read it, then what do you do, right?
Right.
And LLMs are really good at spitting out large pattern matching stuff, but the problem with software engineering forever, not just for computers, even for humans, it's really hard to tell why something afterwards, right? There's a running joke. I wrote this at 2 a.m. and only God and I knew why. Now only God knows. Right? And so that's the hard part.
That's a big tenet of software development, is maintainability.
Exactly.
And also I was going to say, if you are going to generate code and put it on GitHub, you need to get some thick skin.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
For sure.
Yeah, so I kind of walked into this thinking, oh, by the way, Sean, thank you so much for the super chat. What's FUTO? Did a great video with a clickbait title. What's Futo? Is that
Futo is they're a open source investment company.
Oh, they have a YouTube
private equity-ish, if it's who I'm thinking of. Fact check me live, please. Yeah. I'm happy to be wrong.
No, yeah, it was just in his super chat. It's just Futo, and I wasn't sure what that is. But so the way I envision this, and Nick, I kind of feel the same way. I don't really want to drag any apps, but I kind of also want to point potential users of apps to some of the knowledge that they should keep in mind as a way to kind of protect themselves. I will come out swinging, and I'll just pull this up. So hopefully we'll be able to hear everybody. Let's see. Yeah, hopefully you guys can all hear. I think you can. Everybody can still hear the group. Hopefully. But I'm going to jump over here to, this is Open Ham Clock, right? Open Ham Clock has a GitHub. So this was a push that was made by Modern Ham, who's out here on YouTube, actually. I did invite him on, but I think he didn't see my DM. Removed 411 lines of useless AI-generated information. And so maybe this is some of what you're talking about, Nick, and what
Kind of.
happened in this case? This is back in March.
Really high level. Basically, OpenHam Clock is largely AI developed, as far as I can tell. I don't know the developers. I haven't had any discussions with them. Full disclosure, right? I'm just reading along and looking at code, right? But basically, they got a handful of security reports that they then fed back into their system, that they then labeled closed, that on further review and testing, external testing, were not addressed.
Yeah.
And some of them are relatively serious. And they're common vulnerabilities that you should hypothetically know what to look for if you do this often.
Yeah, so I guess the big thing is, we say buyer beware when it comes to anything you go and purchase. But if you go download somebody's GitHub project and you run it, or you just go to their website that's running it, you're the buyer and you should beware, I guess, is kind of the statement there. Were you following that at all, Heath? Do you remember that whole story?
I do. I didn't follow it very closely, but I mean, it does show. Like I said, when you put something out there, especially something that is a web interface and it uses JavaScript, like I said, you need to watch out for those things. And if you haven't had experience in it, then like I said, the AI code, the AI generated code could be a black box.
Yeah.
But it seems like it quieted down, and it seems like they determined that was something they needed to be fixed in their project.
Yeah, and I see Frank here making a comment. From what I understand, Chris made no hidden fact that it was AI coded for OpenHam Clock. Nor did I say that.
I didn't look.
Well, but I didn't even broach the topic of this as obfuscation. I never said that, right? So be really clear. No one is making that claim that people are intentionally hiding that it's AI generated software. What we're saying is people who aren't software developers can use very powerful tools to make software, place it on GitHub, and then people give a certain level of trust to that tool because they also don't understand software development, and then they run it and they run into a problem. I think that's what I'm at least trying to say. Would Nick or Heath, would you like to add your thoughts to that?
Yeah, I mean, the same can happen for human developed code too. I mean,
yeah,
just anything written there. But I think that it's really easy with AI because it's powerful, that your scope will get big really fast. And
yes.
I think OpenHam Clock had a lot of pieces to it, and the implementation was done incredibly fast.
Yeah.
And so, and when you start mixing all those things, then you need to kind of slow down and make sure that it's going to be correct and secure, and people can use it without worrying about if they run it, if somebody get access to their system or these kind of things.
Yeah. So I wanted to give. Oh, please go ahead.
I was going to say, for real quick reference, the suite of tools that I run for code checking at every milestone for human code, my code, AI code, it doesn't matter to me where it came from. I run an AI suite at every milestone. If you use enterprise grade tooling, it takes half an hour or so, right? And burns somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 15 million tokens. In my personal
Is that a lot?
Claude, that's a ton.
Okay.
Well, here's the reference.
Okay.
In my personal Claude code, like you buy it for $20 a month instance, I burned through the entire month's usage in 4.5 minutes.
Holy crap.
Right. Like, and there's a vast difference there, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, a bunch of people showing up with Baofangs and saying, oh, let's all use 155.42. Like, no.
So is it cheaper to just let Claude go off and slam out a bunch of code based off of a prompt than it is to actually go and do a software audit of something that was developed?
That's a huge question.
The larger thing you're looking at, the more credits you're going to burn, because it has to load all of those tokens in and work with it that way. So big data sets and those kind of things can really use a lot of resources, and and burn those things up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how much tokens do you think has gone into something like ham clock? Because if it was 12,000 lines of code for one of the larger files, that could be tremendous.
It could have been something as simple as, hey, here's, I don't remember, what was the ham clock? Was it ham clock that they were recreating?
Yeah.
So, hey, here's ham clock recreate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is not necessarily a lot of tokens if you don't have that next responsibility layer and you're just letting it spit things out, right? That can be fast, quick, and cheap.
Interesting. Yeah, you kind of you've taken this in a direction I didn't really think about, but I have a couple of other AI softwares that I was going to mention. So PodaCat, right? PodaCat. I just thinking, Buy Me a Coffee is linked right there because
Absolutely.
this is developed using Claude, and we know that if you scroll down here, at least we've got good evidence, and I'm going to show you all how you can determine if something has AI involved in it. And again, no obfuscation. This is not about that. I'm just using this as an opportunity to talk to people who may not know enough about this. But if you go to a website like PodaCat, you can find their GitHub if they've made it public. A lot of these different applications are, and open source, all that, all good stuff. I'm not implying, again, any negativity or secrecy. But Waffle Slop is the creator of PodaCat. This is their GitHub, and if you, on the right-hand side, scroll down, you can see contributors. The main contributor is Waffle Slop, but then the one next to them is Claude, right? So Claude committed to the repository in the past day, and if you scroll up to the top, Waffle Slop and Claude released an upgrade for PodaCat. So again, this isn't to say that that's a problem. It's just if you were interested in knowing and you didn't, because I think most people don't actually pay attention to that stuff, that's a way to check, right? So, boy, I didn't even really think about that. But yeah, I guess the cost of some of these things could go up pretty seriously. And Buy Me a Coffee is probably what they need to keep the app afloat. What do you say about that?
I mean, it depends, of course, right? Like the team's professional tooling is $100, $200 a month, right? And that's generally enough to work on a sizable application.
Okay.
The professional or the personal, I have a Claude, ChatGPT, whatever subscription is $20 a month generally, right? And that's fine for some one-liners or for some small projects, right? Like if you just wanted to make, I saw somebody was working on a serial interface for an MD5 card pewter or an M5 card pewter, or an FT8 client, right? I think.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things, yeah. But there's a noticeable difference.
Yeah, I was able to develop some really, simple things for the card pewter, like when I was trying to build an interface for I2C for a device, and I was able to get something that was usable using the free Claude.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so, I mean, the resulting file was just a couple hundred lines. But yeah. And the way, a lot of the way you keep tokens down, of course, is that AI doesn't keep the entire code base in its context, or these kind of things. It uses other tools. A lot of times, because I'm working on Linux, it's using grep and a couple of these other tools to find the different things in different files, and only loading enough of it into the context to be able to try and determine what it wants to do.
So how does that work? You point it at like your GitHub, or you point it at some file structure where you keep all the code, and then it goes in and pulls some in locally and works on it, or how's that function?
Yeah, so I used was it Claude Code, or I think Codex is a similar tool. It's an application that runs in your terminal, and you tell it to trust the directory, and usually I will have the source tree in that directory, and then start asking it questions about things in that source tree, and then if I wanted to make changes, do I trust these changes, and you kind of go through those steps there, so it can make changes in your local Git repo. That's better for working with code, rather than using just a web interface. Web interface is fine, but it's hard to get a lot of context in there. Web interface will get its context by basically Google searching for you. You'll say like, okay, I'm writing this. It'll go out and look at documentation and other things like that and do web searches and gather the information that way that it needs.
Oh, okay, so say that again. When you're using it in a development sense, how are you accessing it again? Or how are you using it?
Through the command line utility.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then that's pointing to the file structure or the code structure and then kind of prompting it at that point.
Yeah, usually I'll start at I'll just start the application in the directory where I want to work. I have with my Pixel phone, my personal one, I have Gemini, which has been okay, but Gemini has a Gemini CLI, and it works there. So you can load that into there. And I usually leave it in the directory, and I'll have my context file and the MD file and those kind of things to help build things up. So all in the same directory. And then start working on it from there.
Yeah, Digital Rancher is saying integrated in the IDE itself, which is, I guess that's where you'd want it, right?
Well,
Heath and I are Luddites, right? We're old school terminal users. Claude Code lives in the terminal, and you can automate things around it, and you can pipe it here and send it there and do a whole lot of stuff. Most people are using it inside of VS Code. Or JetBrains has an add-on, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. So all my background
so it's
was
living
C++.
in their text order.
All my background C++ and Java, and so those had integrated IDEs typically, particularly if you're doing real time. So that would be oh yeah, sure. But that also makes sense because we used to develop UIs front end on Java, and it would be a lot of auto-generated code, and that was 20 years ago that we were doing that. Yeah. So this is similar to that, and it was garbage. The code was hot garbage when it was done. It was absolute trash. So you wouldn't even want to try and code review it.
Right.
I do remember that I did some Java programming, early 2000s in school and stuff, and yeah, our teacher wouldn't let us use any of the auto-generated stuff, but we were not writing UIs specifically. We're just doing command line stuff. No, I mean a lot of people I work with, a lot of younger people, they're all VS Code. Yeah. A lot of them look at me kind of funny because I'm bringing up Vi and Tmux and these kind of tools. Yep.
Vi probably makes their head spin. Sends them to the mountains. What is VS Code? Is that just a terminal app? What is it?
No,
I haven't used it.
It's Microsoft's kind of Swiss Army knife IDE. You can develop plugins. There's all kinds of plugins for it for developing all kinds of different languages. So it gives you that full IDE interface.
It's Visual Studio. I know what Visual Studio is. Are we acronyming it now?
Yeah.
No,
all the cool kids are acronyming Visual Studio. Okay.
No, they're two separate things. Visual Studio is a whole suite. VS Code is just one notepad on stereos.
Oh, okay.
Steroids.
Gotcha.
Stereos.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. That is news to me. I don't know.
You can develop Visual Studio in VS Code through plugins and stuff.
You can.
Interesting. So, yeah, I guess I'm Notepad++. That's my preferred Windows IDE now. Yeah, Don and me, Notepad++, buddy. I'll open anything in Notepad++.
I learned C in Notepad++. So
yeah.
Many years ago.
Well, so let's give an example. I know I said good, bad, and the ugly. Maybe we don't want to dip too much in the bad and the ugly, unless the ugly is not really pertaining to slamming anybody. But I do have a couple examples of what I would call good AI applications that people should try. And the first one, and this is more of the use of AI, but it's RM noise. I talked about this last year, or maybe the year before that even. This is actually a really fun noise filtering program that uses AI to do it. Is it fully documented in AI? I don't know, truly, but it is AI in the form of the actual processing of the audio signal that's coming in on the receive. It's actually a really fun app. It works really well. It's not doing the contact for you or anything like that, but it is effective. Have either of you used RM noise?
I have not. It's Windows only.
Okay.
So I've not used RM Noise. Again, it is Windows only, but with the Hermes Lite, a couple of those software, there's a library called WDSP,
Mm-hmm.
the DSP software. The latest noise filters that come out in that are use AI trained models for noise reduction on SSP. Works very similar to RM Noise. In fact, comparing the two, like listening online, then using that one, they're basically the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
The AI used in that is not necessarily for coding. These are AI generated. You go back to machine learning, and you have certain models, and so the models work very fast to work in real time. These are the same kind of models that you have for like video and picture editing,
Mm-hmm.
And those kind of things. So there's different models within AI. A lot of times for programming, you use large language models. And for writing and editing and these kind of things, those are all large language models. But the models used for audio processing are different, and different because they work on different data.
Yeah. I will ping you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, sorry, I was done there.
Oh, I was going to say I'm going to ping you both on AI software that you like, or AI generated software that you've liked for ham radio. But we did get a question, and so if chatters that are watching us right now have a question, feel free to just at Ham Radio Crash Course, and I'll see them. But the ladies' ham asks, serious question for coders: what about the concept that original mistakes way back when in the DOS days will continue to compound to eventual failure? I thought that would be a good question, but then I realized we're talking about DOS. So the DOS bugs haven't like perpetuated into current Windows to the point that it would cause a problem or went to other operating systems. But if you were talking about a project, so if you started out with a ham radio project and it was small and there was something in it that was a problem, maybe it was some part of the code that never really got touched. So it got generated by AI and it was some decision tree that never really got worked. After years of, say, updates, changes, modifications, and that piece of code isn't stripped out of there, you could eventually fall into that and cause a failure, right?
So you're speaking to the concept of technical debt?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's exactly what that would be. Yep.
And that is, AI makes it really good to make a whole lot more makes it really easy to make a whole lot more technical debt faster.
And burn your credits while you do it, right?
Absolutely. Which is where you can get into trouble quickly, right? Because it's really cool and really fun to make new features, but who's watching the fact that this package or this library that you depend on has a security vulnerability that was reported 2 years ago, and you haven't bothered to upgrade it, right? That's a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm watching chat, and some people have some really good examples of that. Is the string copy?
Yeah.
Library string copy API.
Yeah. So explain what happened there.
Yeah, I mean it's tons of applications use it because it was really popular. It's easy, but it's also very it's easy to exploit. You can write off the end of strings and access memory and do all those nasty things in order to get things there. But it continues to perpetuate because a lot of software uses it, and because when LLM is trying to decide what code to write, it's looking at what's come in the past and it's using probability to figure out what the next thing might be. So if you have lots of code that it's trained on that uses string copy, it says, well, I need to copy a string from this place to this place.
Mm-hmm.
String copy is the way to do it.
Sure.
However, on the flip side too, though, is you can have your LLM trained or have it go out and search build a context to figure out what are some common security issues, and then have it review your code and then flag all the places where it used string copy and where you alternate to use, because lots of information about there of alternate things to use in order to make your code more secure.
And to be clear, none of these are new problems, right?
Right.
Yeah.
This is just a lot more of them faster.
We're just finding the problems faster. Yeah. I guess, when it comes to string copy,
making more of them faster, but yes.
Oh, sure. Yeah, exactly. With the string copy, that's, I guess, the nuance of if you had developed it yourself and you didn't know about that, you could have still fell into that hole. Or, good interface design, if it was a user interface that's providing the string or your terminal command or whatever, if you're not truncating after the X digit or whatever, then yeah, of course you're opening yourself up to that. So yeah.
Well, and there's a new version of that function.
Yeah.
Right? You just have to know to use it.
Right. Exactly. I guess though, I think somebody said it. I don't remember which one of you said it. That maybe it was chat. I think it might have been chat. That a lot of folks are now using Claude to do code review of code that they've developed. Or I know of somebody who uses like Claude to develop something, and then he has a consortium of other bots, other LLMs. He'll point that code at, and it's kind of like his Oracle, he calls it, that does the code review. Is that how you have been deploying, or have you tried AI? How do you effectively use it?
That is, yes, is the short answer. That is a large part of how I use it.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but
and
it all
for that,
starts
it's
back
effective.
at that design. It's effective because I do, and I have always done what's called test-driven development,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is where you write you come up with the logic, you write tests to decide whether or not the function is working.
Yep.
And you design them and write the tests before you write the code. So the tests will immediately fail, right? And then you design the code to make the test pass. And then on top of that, you have acceptance testing, right? And I use all of those things as gates.
Yep.
So that you know that you're getting good QA through, right? And then, of course, there's the human step on top of that, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm responsible. I send this out into production.
Mm-hmm.
If I screw it up, it's on me.
Your background or the way your process is very similar to my own when I was still coding, is exactly that. 100%. You build a function test, it will fail. Then you work the code to make it pass. And of course, you still have to mess around with the test a little bit. But yeah, totally. So what is a good example of some AI built software that you use, or do you? Or is it all never touch it?
I wouldn't say I don't touch it, but there's a lot of software I use that probably is starting to use more, AI development in it, but it didn't start as an AI project.
Okay.
Trying to think of what some websites. People just talking about like the Hermes Light and stuff. More and more of the projects there have been using AI to help bring up some new, software and move that along pretty quick in order to build that in there.
Mm-hmm.
Add features to existing software faster and do those kind of things. But I mean, it's hard to say. I don't really have a favorite piece of like AI that I would say that was designed from the get-go to be AI driven.
I will mention. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Was that?
About the only thing, of course, is different models that I've used, for speech recognition and speech processing and those kind of things. But those.
So you're making automatic contacts with AI, is what I hear on single sideband.
Yes, exactly.
I will mention one that's a good one, highly recommended by one N8YO. Now I can't comment on is it safe to use or whatnot, but it is Tiles on the Air. So Tiles on the Air, he told me he uses that to help him chase down Fred Fish contacts. And so he'll get a notification on his phone or in an email along those lines. Is that the right one? Am I on the wrong one? No, not Tiles on the Air. Which is the one he uses? Tiles on the Air is a different one. Oh, shoot.
The Tiles on the Air, the infrastructure for that was AI developed, and I think that's very much a program that's getting going. But I don't think the code for that is the problem with Tiles on the Air.
So Tiles on the Air is not the one I was thinking of, not the one that N8YO recommends. He uses one for the Fred Fish stuff, so I have to look that up right now because I did set that up myself because I was like, oh, this is actually really fascinating. But I totally forgot which one it was. I took the wrong link.
It's Gridzilla.
Gridzilla. Yes. Thank you. Gridzilla.
I think Heath's kind of tugging on the actual like AI, what is good, bad, and different about AI code there with his comment of like AI is not the problem with whichever piece of software, right? Like, really, I think the big objection right now, ethical questions aside, is, oh my God, everybody's just throwing out every idea out there, right? And everybody's just getting flooded with stuff,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
nobody really knows how to judge quality.
Yes.
So the big question then actually becomes, okay, well, what problem is this solving?
I think you're on to something there, right? Yeah, because I have well, let Keith, feel free to jump in here too. I'll go to you for your thoughts. But the Ham Radio Crash Course has been like inundated with everybody's cool project that they want to show off, and they're very passionate about it. So much so that we had to like basically make a chat to just go over there, right? Because a lot of it, truth be told, everybody, what is it? 99% of all these titles that are coming out are not doing something that's that unique or different than what's already out there. It's a lot of retread, but people are really passionate about it, and they're really in love with the thing that they made, which, again, we're not trying to break your hearts or anything like that. But at the same time, it's like, yes, I think people are getting a little strained from the constant exposure.
Right.
Yeah, and I do have lots of thoughts on this, because it was something that I brought up, all the noise. So, amateur radio software has kind of been lacking for a long time. Let's be honest here. Lots of old interfaces, old software. You have to jump around. You have to create like virtual COM ports and do all this other like convoluted stuff for hardware that's designed 20, 30 years ago.
Not just that, but also operating system locked pretty much to Windows for a very long time. It's only recently started to get broader into Linux and Mac OS. But I agree. I'm a yes-anding you. Yeah.
And so, that is one exciting thing, is the fact that we have AI tools to help speed up that development. And so, because we, a lot of hams, it's our hobby, it's very limited time. And being able to take your idea from idea to implementation, what do they call it? Minimal viable product.
Yep.
Yes.
And then getting it out there is great. And so, that's the idea is a genesis there. So I'm excited to see that. And I want to see what applications stuck. And that's, I was really happy with the forum thing there, is that people could post in the forum. It wouldn't get lost in the noise of chat.
Yeah.
And that way they could do that, and they could have all the resources point to their GitHub and their own places where people can interact with them in order to work with them to help them make their application better. And that's awesome thing too. As a contributor, you don't have to contribute code. You can contribute ideas that then can help that author feed that to the AI in order to do features. That's one thing like I've seen with PodaCat is I talked to the PodaCat guy at the 5 days in May forum, had a minute to talk to him. I'm very interested in hearing about features, and hearing about features and feature creep was a long time a problem in software because it was just overwhelming. But now with AI, that they can move a little bit quicker on those features in order to meet the needs of their users. So I'm super excited about that. But like I said, when everybody's getting going, there is some noise, and it's nice to kind of let that settle down and build things. So like this example with Gridzilla, I didn't get a chance to look at it much, but that's specifically for people that do Fredfish or satellite contacts.
Yeah, it's awesome. In that sense, it's great. It'll flesh out worked all states, Fredfish, a number of other things. But Nick, you sounds like you have a thought there too. Go for it.
No, I was just going to agree.
Oh,
right.
Sure. Yeah. I will shout out to our Discord. If you go to the project. I'm muted. There you go. It's under projects there that you can see. Like, go to our Discord. It's right there, so you can check that out. So anyway, yeah, wanted to show we do have a place for it, and so you can have commentary. But much like our sales or used equipment, whatever, the Ham Radio Crash Course is not backing any of these. This is an open platform for you guys to share. If somebody does something nefarious, we'll absolutely go in and delete them, delete their posts, etc. But we are not a line of defense of this software. We are not saying this is good software. Right?
Use at your own risk.
Definitely use at your own risk. We are not legally obligated. Yeah.
But if you like somebody's idea, definitely contribute. run it.
Yeah.
Learn how to run software in a sandbox. And,
yeah, we should talk about that. Maybe we spend the rest of the time here talking about that. How should someone you find a dirty USB stick while you're walking around outside? Do you take it home and plug it into your computer immediately? No. But if you really wanted to, what would you do?
I have a laptop just for specifically that. So yes, I would just walk in my house and plug it in
into the dirty laptop.
Yeah.
An isolated machine or old laptop that's not connected to your network.
Not connected to your network. Huge.
Plug.
The library. Wow, Jesse. Wow. That's messed up.
It's not wrong though.
Use a VM, right? Use a VM if you got a home lab that could. Well, yeah. Nick's had an exhale moment. Go for it.
Because there are only so many layers of sandboxing you can do.
Sure.
Right. So it's what do you know how to do that is practical, and just take what your practical precautions are. Right. VMs are good. Containerization is good.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Isolated laptop off the network is better, but not practical. Right. Because a lot of time these things need network connections. Right. They have to reach out to the internet to get whatever data. Right. So that's not. And are we expecting every random ham to know how to set up VLANs with, we can go deep into cybersecurity there, right? Like that's not practical. So I think really the idea is the real goal for most people is going to be, if you can put it in a VM, put it in a VM, but it's not a security blanket.
Yeah.
Right. It's not a be all end all, but pay attention to what your computer's doing and what you expected it to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. I use the dirty USB stick as the best example of like, you don't really know what any of this is. It's just somebody's GitHub page. Anybody can open a GitHub.
Yeah. But if you download somebody's logging software and all of a sudden it's asking you to send $40 in Google Play gift cards to Siberia, let's just not do that. Yeah. Right? That's just probably a bad idea.
Yeah. Not a good feature of the application, but they will ask you to buy them a coffee. Okay, you definitely got to have the buy me a coffee button.
But that's actually a safe and legitimate, this payment processor. Yeah. Right. So being able to differentiate between the two. Yeah. That
Please
makes
bring
sense.
5 gallons of Tide liquid soap behind the Wawa. Yeah. I hear you. Did you have another good example for an AI piece of software or largely AI generated software that you want to mention?
Not that's largely AI generated. I just generally assume that most things are incidentally touching AI at this point. Either
is
as
that
a
where we are
or
now?
As code.
Is that where we are now? Is it just it's all AI?
Yeah.
All the way up the chain now?
I mean, the Linux kernel is allowing AI code into the code base under, it still has to meet quality, et cetera, right? Linux runs 90% of the internet or some nonsense, right?
Yeah.
Like everything's touching AI at this point.
Yeah.
Right. So let's figure out ways that are usable, not garbage.
What would you say to that, Heath?
I agree. I mean, like I said, everything is touching. A lot of people report, with companies the push to use AI in developing tools and things like that, but also very cognizant of making sure that software is safe and does what it's supposed to do, and that we don't skip review processes or those kind of things. So that's the thing is I don't think that somebody can, there are developers out there that are very much like, I'm not doing AI, it's not happening. They've been very vocal about it. And then there's ones that realize that technology moves along and decides to move with it. I know, there's a lot of issues around that, and there is always a lot of issues that happens with brand new technology. We've been through a couple of them, like cloud computing, and with the original .com boom, a lot of the things that happened there. So
that was rough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a final question. This is an interesting one since you guys are developers. Where is it? Oh, I lost it. Ah, there it is. If you aren't using AI, you're behind. What do you think of that comment?
I feel it personally. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not going to, depending your level of usage of it is going to vary between, but by the job, what you're doing and, you know, what your company wants you to do and those kind of things. But for the most part, yeah, I see same level of output. This is kind of way that I've put it now. And what's happening here is that people that are new in computer science coming out of college, they're expected to, you know, entry level, expected to be performed like an engineer that has 5 years of experience. And the only way they're going to reach that level and that proficiency is utilizing AI for their programming and stuff. And so it's here. There's a lot of great tools. If you don't want to use online ones, I think people are discussing about running local LLMs. If you can afford the RAM and the video card. But there are a lot of, you know, you have different tiers of LLMs, and, you know, a lot of times agents will automatically choose a lower tier, and that does a lot of good work as well. Surprisingly, it's kind of funny. You know, you don't really, for a lot of like boilerplate code and easy code and things like that, you don't need the full reasoning machine and all that stuff. You can run a local LLM and call it good, or to do those kind of things. So that's kind of where, like, I feel it in my heart, because it's kind of one of the first times in my career that I felt like I've been a little bit behind. So I'm working hard to get caught up.
I think that's largely a tech-focused mantra too. I think that AI will change how jobs are done in large parts, right? But it's going to push the onus of the human being more into the responsibility and delegating role, and the understanding of second order effects versus doing the scut work, right? And having to learn that at an entry level as you're coming in, I think that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I guess my perfect world would be using Heath's example, that the kids graduating out of college learn all the basics. They learn what, you know, a design, paradigms of design and all of that stuff. And I hope they still are. I hope it's not just go AI.
An ongoing problem.
What's that?
That's been an ongoing problem for 15 years, right? Like between software boot camps and, you know, chasing the lowest bid for whatever specific window of software you need written at that specific time, right? Wherever that, you know, code shop, the cheapest code shops in the world, right? AI is just another portion of it. A large part of the like entry level stuff that it's replacing is stuff that the US largely didn't want to do in-house anyway. Right? And like, it's replacing call centers. Well,
yeah,
call centers aren't here.
Yeah.
So what are we replacing, right? So it gets a little funky, and the people who can navigate responsibility and compliance are going to be the winners, I think.
Yeah, that's an interesting, I don't know how I have to think about that one. That's a good question at the end. With that said, I want to give a huge shout out to Design Patterns. Where is it? Design Patterns, Elements of Reusable Object-Oriented Software. A must read, a good nighttime book if you're looking for a way to fall asleep quickly. Make sure you go check that out. Yeah. That was very important in my college education, in my first couple of years in actual software development. Was that book actually? So were you going to say something, Heath? Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I was kind of likening it to in college, I learned how to program in assembly. Never going to use assembly, right?
Yes.
I learned Java and C++ and you know, Python and shell scripting. However, I kind of have this basic understanding of how assembly works and how machine language works and things like that. So I don't have to know it perfectly and be able to type it out anymore for high level languages. AI generated code is the same thing too. You have to understand what it's doing.
Yeah,
So
well said.
yes. So computer science students, I'm actually on the computer science board for our local high school. They have the AP computer science, and that's one of the things we kind of talked about just this last fall was like how do they prepare students for the AI world, and so that was like what I brought up before is telling the kids how they can understand the code using AI to help them build that understanding.
Yeah, but I think there's been, in my experience in the business world, there's been two different paths, really, right? Like there's the classical computer science that you're talking about, and then there's the boot camp coding, right? And the classical computer science understands the why and the how and the underneath, and the boot camps teach what to write.
Yeah, I think the coding boot camp, so people aren't generally using that to get like degrees and stuff, right? That's the big
no, they're using it to get jobs.
Yeah, we're not hiring people that come in with coding boot camp. They got to have a bachelor's usually. There's some exceptions. I take that back. There are some exceptions, but I think the bar the bar is probably higher to get a job or an internship without a bachelor's degree in some kind of a strong software development area than going your own, if you will. Definitely not one boot camp. It would have to be like running a very successful, privately made, and financially positive piece of code or software title.
I will say what's been interesting though is, like you said, is I've worked with lots of people that do not have bachelors in computer science, but they do have a bachelor's in a various field. I mean, I've worked with people who have their degree in philosophy, right? And they learn coding. However, there's a lot of things that go back and forth. We talk about business and understanding and those kind of things, and to build that technical knowledge. So I don't think it's necessarily bad to go to coding boot camp, but
I don't either.
But you don't quite have the depth unless you have lots of other experience. Right. And so a lot of my background, I went to a lot of college and did computer science and math, but a lot of stuff is self-taught for me.
Yeah. I am shocked by some of the comments. I didn't get to see all of these, but man, degrees are meaningless against certs, it feels like. Degrees have been useless since at least the 1990s. I'm telling you guys, there's a ton of...
it depends.
When I post a rec, it almost always requires a bachelor's degree. Almost always. And there's almost no wiggle room. They can, but it's usually going to be a byproduct of how skilled they are. An actual, like, someone has to go and look at their products kind of thing. But Nick, I don't know what you shook your head a little bit there. What's your background?
I find the opposite. It depends on what you're looking for, right? If you're talking more research theory, greenfielding, yeah, absolutely. The bachelor's, the strong computer science, the math, etc., right? If you're number 75 of this startup company and they just want to push product out, or any one of a huge number of mid-market just coding shops, they don't care. They just want to know, do you know Python?
I could see that.
Sure,
yeah.
I can know Python. That doesn't mean you can write a program, right? It doesn't mean it's going to be successful.
Yeah. Hopefully there's a little bit of whiteboarding that goes into that interview, or some kind of actual, like, do a thing for me. I know that
you would hope
we do that, but
the good places do.
Another one. What is it? California is a bit of an education bubble, Josh. Not all areas of the country are like that. I don't know what that means. I'll take your word for it, but I think you're also making an assumption of what Nick just said is most of the startups are in California. So if they're not requiring degrees, then that's not really a California thing.
I think education bubble means that there are a lot of universities in California that do technical stuff, and it's not just California. I mean,
actually, gotta push back on that one. A lot of the best software development is not from kids in Southern California colleges. Like, we're looking at Rochester, particularly in the area of aerospace, Purdue, Virginia Tech. A number of those colleges are much better than most, if not all, of the California colleges in software. So if that's what that chat mentioned, I think you're right. I disagree completely. California is not the end all be all of software development colleges, but go ahead.
No, if I had to guess, I would think that it's the same stereotype that I get about being in Connecticut, where we spend a lot of money on education in general.
Yeah.
And we're perceived as well educated and etc.
Yeah, Berkeley's about the only one. Caltech, sure, of course, Caltech, no question. Yeah. MIT, right? Somebody mentioned that. I saw that. Don, shout out Don. Yeah, of course. Anyway, thank you for the super chat, Keith Macris. Appreciate it. I'll throw it to you guys. Any last words or comments on AI? I know we dove into a bit of all things. This is it was a fun chat, but I feel like the big takeaway is everyone's exhausted with everybody's fun project. What would you recommend somebody if they had a fun project, and what should they do?
I'll go first here, and I think the problem is like with a lot of these new technologies, like I said, the .com boom and cloud computing.
Pets.com.
It's just hype to the point where people are just like, I'm done with this.
Yeah, and we're exhausted.
Their experiences, Chat GPT, and it's telling them all kinds of weird things, and there's all these things going on. So when people come in with the code, so my advice is to we talked about earlier, sit down with a pen and paper, or just type it in and just come up with a project of what your goals are with your project, what you want to do. If you just want to experiment, that's fine as well. And then make sure your goals and things like that are good with your project. Post your code, and then if you decide to post your code and get feedback, be ready for what feedback you get. Like I said, it's not necessarily bad. People may, you have to be open to reviews and things like that. So, but it is an awesome tool for people that to jump like that and to be able to have things, quickly and things like that. So, I wouldn't discount it right away, bad or anything like that. But just remember that you're the creative person. The AI is not. The AI is going to help you expand the things, but it's you that's the creative one.
Yeah, well said.
That's exactly where I was going.
Like, you want to say anything else?
Yeah. AI has lowered the barrier to entry in a lot of ways, right? To allow humans to take that idea to minimum viable product, or take that interesting thing and turn it into something. But that creative bubble also needs to come in the context of, well, what's already here, right? So yes, I have this awesome idea, but honestly, there's only 5 original ideas in the history of the world. So, okay, what's around? What can I take this and apply it to also? And maybe together we can come up with more stuff.
But that would require human beings to work together, Nick.
It's almost like ham radio is a hobby about communication.
Nick, if there are 3 hams in a city, how many ham clubs will there be?
4. Well, no, it depends. How many went defunct?
Right.
But yes, everybody has that awesome idea, and this can help you take the focus off of the technical side of it and help you bring it to ideation. But understand that when you do, you have to have a why, and you have to have the where does this fit? And the why can be, well, just because I wanted to, right? But then be prepared for everybody to look at you and go, well, yeah, but so what? There's 74 of these.
Right.
Right. How many logging programs do we need?
It's the 16 standards. There are now 16 competing standards meme, right? That's exactly what this is. I agree. And I guess, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, I was going to say, I say that in the hope that people will kind of find that open source spirit more and contribute to each other's projects and help push each other's projects forward.
Yeah.
Because I think that in the long run will help the hobby better.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. Is if you think about before the AI boom, we already had a ton of different loggers, and everybody was camp this logger, camp that logger. I only use this logger. That other logger sucks. Don't listen to those guys. Now we've just taken the throttle of more options, slammed it all the way to 100% and broke it off with AI. And it means not only do we get more options, but dubious quality in some cases as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe I can hope.
I don't sinusoidal. I don't know if that's for me. Yeah, I didn't know what VS Code is. I know what Visual Studio is, but I'm not complaining about AI slop. That's why I have guests that do know those things, and they're talking right now. That's why I have people on to interview. But yeah, thank you, Heath and Nick, for being on the show. I appreciate you guys. I'm gonna wrap things up here. There won't be an after chat, but I do appreciate you guys hanging out and doing the thing with me here.
Oh, it's been a blast.
All right.
Been awesome. Yeah. Thanks. And happy July 4th, everybody.
Yeah.
Go out,
indeed.
go out and celebrate responsibly.
Yeah. Go blow things up safely. Don't blow yourself up.
Come back with all your fingers. You need them to type.
Yeah. All right. I'll leave you guys to it. I'm going to wrap up the show. So I'll say 7:30 to y'all, and I'll talk to you on the Discords. I'll see you.
Thanks. Enjoy.
All right, well, there it is. Patrons, you wanted to talk about AI software, and I think that was really the crux of it, but I had to open it up beyond just, boy, howdy, there's a lot of these, isn't there? Because that's, that's a 5-minute video. So we wanted to talk a little bit more deeper than that and give some examples of what you can do, keep an eye out, look for all that stuff. Again, no one is crapping on AI-generated software. It is a wonderful tool. But as the chat said, garbage in, garbage out. If you don't really know what you're doing in terms of software development, you could create software that is not fantastic. And if it is publicly placed on GitHub, then you could be sharing it with people that don't know that you don't know what you're doing, and that Claude is helping you push out something that maybe we don't need 18 copies of. But that'll do it, guys. I hope you have a fantastic 4th of July. Big shout out to the patrons who again voted on this, and there we go. Okay, it's going. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm curious how big the festivities will be this year, because not only is it the 250th anniversary of the United States, not only is 4th of July on a Saturday, but also Mexico and the United States won their World Cup games this week. And I know where I live in Southern California, the Latino community, when it comes to fireworks and 4th of July, they don't play any games. And so there's a tremendous amount of explosions that happen every 4th of July, lots of things shooting into the air, and this is all like illegal fireworks. Fireworks that are not allowed in California. California does not let you shoot things in the air and blow things up, all that stuff, because of fires and a number of other things. Whether you agree or not, it's not the point. It's going to be insane. I have a feeling it's going to be absolutely insane. I think Mexico and England is next week. I think that's next week. They played somebody else. Yeah, somebody will say in the chat. But yeah, we're in for a fun one. Hopefully, you guys are all safe and having fun out there. But yeah, what do you guys? Yeah, exactly. Palisades. We don't need a Palisades 2, and it's dry out here, so we don't need that. Dude, those strobe rockets, I was watching firework videos today. They just randomly showed up on my feed, and oh man, so ridiculous. Yeah. Somebody was joking that hopefully Mexico wins. Not this comment, I just pulled it up to remember it, but the joke was it'd be really funny if Mexico beats England for all the colonization, but then I believe that was actually Spain. The Cortez. So yeah, whatever. No after chat. It's 4th of July. Go hang out with your family. I'm gonna go hang out with my family. So we'll catch up with you next. Oh no, next week I will be with Adam K6ARK. So we'll be doing a live stream from the field, from somewhere in the high altitude of the Eastern Sierras. It will be fishing and radio fun with my boys and Adam, and I think one or two other guests who we will talk to next week. So appreciate you all. A happy 250th birthday to the United States. Appreciate you all for watching. Thank you so much for your comments. Leave them below, because we might be able to. Obviously, 4th of July was a really tough time, so I really do appreciate Nick and Heath for hanging on and joining us. They really didn't have to do that. It was my desire to do this on the first weekend of the month, which is what I normally do for patron picks. I didn't have an excuse not to do it. But this could be a discussion that we could come back to in the future and be like, hey, you know, what's it like now? Have things gotten better? Have they gotten worse? What are some of the hot, new up-and-coming software titles? And maybe that's what it should be. If everything everywhere is AI in code, then maybe we should just focus on the best and the brightest of the new software and what it offers that maybe other established titles do not. Yeah, we'll think about that. Leave your comments below. I'd love to hear it. I'll talk to you later. 73. That does not surprise me, Don. That does not surprise me at all. Have a great weekend. See ya.